In today's video, I'm going to talk about how being in a close relationship with a narcissist and/or being raised by a narcissist can cause or exacerbate social anxiety. And I'm doing this in the hopes that if this is something that you're struggling with, identifying the origins of these anxieties can hopefully help you on the road to overcoming them. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. The topic of this video was suggested by a listener, and I've never covered the topic of social anxiety because, for one, I've never really thought of the connection between social anxiety and narcissism. And the more I thought about it, the more I saw a whole bunch of connections and a whole bunch of ways that a narcissist could cause social anxiety or exacerbate it. Another reason is I'm not an expert on social anxiety. I feel a little out of place talking about it. So I hope for those of you that are very well versed in social anxiety, you'll give me a little bit of leeway. I will try to speak as accurately as I can about it. And firstly, I want to clarify that social anxiety is on a spectrum. There is an actual social anxiety disorder in the DSM, which you can be diagnosed with. I'm not necessarily talking about social anxiety that is that severe, but social anxiety that is that severe, everything down to things that just affect your daily life and make it difficult to function in any sort of situation where you have to be social with people. I decided to make this video because I think pointing out some of these connections and pointing out the origins of where some of these anxieties might be coming for some of you, it can help you understand why you fear certain things in irrational ways. And hopefully that can help you get to the root of what you're really afraid of. Like if you have social anxiety when you're in meetings and you have a really hard time discussing your opinion or interjecting your opinions and thoughts on things when you really want to, like you're too afraid to speak up or make your presence known. What is it you're actually afraid of? Are you actually afraid that Tom from accounting is going to think you're stupid? And if you are afraid of that, why is it such a big deal? Even if Tom from accounting thought you were stupid, why does that matter so much? I think that narcissistic abuse is one of many different ways that these kinds of anxieties can develop in us. And that's what I want to talk about today. To help you answer the question, where did you learn that Tom from accounting is going to think what you have to say is really stupid? And where did you learn that it matters so much that you better just not even say anything at all? So one way that narcissists can create social anxiety in people that are close to them or their own children that they're raising is by creating an us versus them. Narcissists do this almost universally. They create an us versus them. They manipulate people into believing that the whole rest of the world is inferior or is out to get them or can't be trusted, and that the narcissist is really the only person that cares about you or is looking out for you, or the narcissist is the only person that's really worth your time, worth your efforts. Narcissists do this to make you feel like you owe them something, like you're lucky that you're included in this club that they've made. And finding ways to convince you that the outside world is to be feared and not trusted is a way that they can strengthen this manipulation, strengthen this idea that you owe everything to them and they're the only person that you should be listening to or doing anything for. The two ways that they do this that can cause social anxiety is to make you believe that everybody's going to be judging you or to make you afraid of everybody, to make you think everyone's out to get you. This can be through the narratives of everybody's going to laugh at you, or everybody thought that what you were wearing was ridiculous. Everybody's going to think you're crazy. Everybody's going to think you look ridiculous. And by the narrative of you can't trust anybody, you have to be very careful what you say to people. People are going to follow you home. People are going to find ways to scam you, attack you. And I mean, to a point, it's important to be careful around people and not leave yourself open to fraud and attacks and stuff like that. But narcissists can take this to a whole new level where you're just scared to death of everybody and you really think that everybody's out to get you. Now, one cruel twist to this is that the narcissist themselves is actually the one who is judging you unfairly, and they are probably the most unsafe person in your life. So while they're convincing you that the whole world is out to get you, the whole world is judging you, and the whole world is to be feared, they're actually the one that all of that applies to the most. So let's say that you're with the narcissist, and maybe you're a young child or maybe you're an adult, but you're with the narcissist and you and the narcissist get into a conversation with somebody who's basically a stranger. And you just get chit-chatting, and maybe you say something to this stranger like, oh yeah, we live over by some river or some landmark, so kind of a vague idea of the general area where you live. And then later, the narcissist flips out and tells you how stupid you are for telling strangers where you live, and they're probably going to come track you down later and rob your house, and how could you be so stupid? And this can create a lot of anxiety in you because, first of all, the narcissist is making you feel like you're stupid. Your judgment is flawed. You were dumb for telling a stranger the general area of where you live when you're having a casual conversation with somebody. And I mean, yeah, it would be stupid to tell a complete stranger your address, but as I said earlier, narcissists take this to a whole new level where telling somebody the general area where you live is somehow going to lead to your house getting broken into that night. Not being able to rely on your own judgment and being told that your own judgment is stupid and foolish and leaving you open to other people attacking you and taking advantage of you can cause a lot of anxiety where you, first of all, feel afraid to say anything. Because if your judgment is so flawed that you would say such stupid things, how do you know what to say at all to anybody? You just never know when the narcissist is going to come back and tell you how foolish you've been and how you shouldn't have said that to this person or that person. And you can get to the point where you just don't want to say anything to anyone. And that's a symptom of social anxiety. And another thing is this slowly convinces you that the world is out to get you. You better be careful what you say because everyone out there is just waiting to break into your house. They're just trying to figure out how to rob you or whatever. And it also creates this situation where the only person you can trust is the same person that you're afraid of. So the narcissist is never going to tell you that they are actually the person that's going to attack you and ruin your life and take everything important to you and destroy it all. They're going to tell you that everybody else is going to do that to you. So they are the only person that you can trust, and you're afraid of them. And that can create an enormous amount of anxiety when the person that you think of as the one who cares about you, the person that you love and trust, is also creating all this fear and anxiety in you. This can lead to a situation where you equate anxiety with love, where fear and love somehow are connected to each other when they're actually the opposite of each other. Another way that living with narcissistic abuse can cause social anxiety is the way that you start making yourself very small to avoid being attacked by the narcissist, to avoid being criticized unfairly or yelled at or raged at, or to avoid making the narcissist angry. We keep ourselves small and quiet, kind of like we're lost in the woods and we're afraid of predators out in the woods. So we just sit and stay as still and quiet as we can because we don't want to attract any attention to ourselves. Kind of like that scene in Jurassic Park where they're trapped in those vehicles and they have to hold as still as they can so that the T-Rex won't see them and come and attack them. That's kind of like what it feels like to live in a house with a narcissist. Don't say anything that you're not absolutely sure isn't going to upset the narcissist, which is nothing. Don't forget anything that they've told you to do. You're not only walking on eggshells, You're keeping as quiet as you can. You're holding back a lot. You're hiding yourself. You're keeping a lot to yourself. You're even lying to cover up things that you've done or said because you're so afraid of the criticism and the judgment and the attacks that might result. So naturally, if this carries over into the real world, this can create an enormous amount of social anxiety when you are afraid to say or do anything to attract attention to yourself. When you're in a room full of people and you're just absolutely scared to death of saying anything or doing anything that somebody else might find offensive and might come over and start criticizing you, yelling at you, and raging at you as you've become so accustomed to. And another way that narcissistic abuse can cause social anxiety is the way that narcissists make you feel that they're always watching you, always hovering over you, ready to criticize any little thing you do. You get to where you don't really want to do anything when they're looking, like the way you chop an onion. I know I've dealt with this personally, and that's why I always bring up this example. If you know that you chop this onion in front of them, they're going to come over and tell you how you're doing it wrong, and it's going to take 10 times longer to chop this onion because they're going to make you do it the way they want to, and they might even take over and do it themselves. And make you feel stupid, make you feel judged, make you feel attacked, like you can't figure out how to do such a simple task. So you end up in a habit of trying to do things when they're not looking because you don't want to risk being criticized. You don't want to risk spending the next 3 hours being lectured out about the way that you fold socks. And if this carries over into the real world when you're out with normal people, you can be afraid to do anything in front of anybody. You can be afraid to talk on the phone where other people are going to listen to you. Or you could get anxiety over just about anything that you're doing in front of other people, just scared to death that they're going to stop you, make you feel stupid, attack you, criticize you, and then waste an enormous amount of your time making sure that you understand how dumb you are. When you live with a narcissist, this is a really, really suffocating feeling, like you can't do anything right, even if part of you is confident that the way you're doing things is just fine. You're still just really frozen and paralyzed by the fear of being judged and the fear of being stopped. Whatever it is you're trying to accomplish and trying to do, just being unnecessarily stopped, having roadblocks put in your way because you can't do anything right. Now, I don't know if this is common knowledge. Like I said, I'm not an expert on social anxiety. So I want to say this is my opinion, but then I don't want to say that if it's something that everybody already knows. But in my view, it seems to me that social anxiety is largely caused by a distorted view of what people are going to think of you and how much they're going to think about you and how important those thoughts actually are. I think social anxiety is basically just a distorted view of all of those things, of thinking that everybody's going to think that whatever you're doing is stupid or that you look crazy or whatever it is you're afraid people are going to think about you. You're afraid that people are going to think that. And you also have this inflated sense of how important that is. Like if Tom from accounting thinks you're stupid, that somehow now it's the end of the world, that is the most important thing ever, and you can't let Tom think you're stupid, so you better just keep quiet. And also you have this inflated sense of how important it is to other people. Part of how this can result from narcissistic abuse is just being around narcissists for so long that their projections start to rub off on you. So narcissists really believe that the whole world is focused on them, that everybody cares about what they're doing, everybody's making a judgment about them, the whole world revolves around them, right? And that can rub off on you when they're constantly saying things like everybody's going to think you look crazy, or making you think that everybody's just looking for an opportunity to take advantage of you, or everybody's judging you, because that's how they see the world. They think everybody cares about how stupid their comment was. So if you are raised by a narcissist, or you've spent a long time in a close relationship with one, this can start to rub off on you, and you can start to believe it too, that everybody's paying attention to you. Everybody's really thinking about what you just said, and they're forming these opinions, and they're really hyper focused on what they think about what you just said, when this is a really distorted way to look at reality. And when you step back and look at it realistically, most people are not focused on what you're saying. Even if somebody thinks what you said was really stupid, they're probably going to forget about it 2 seconds later. They're not going to sit and think about how stupid you are. I mean, unless you say something just absolutely egregiously offensive, which you're probably not going to do if you're already worried about what people think. Another way that narcissists can create or exacerbate social anxiety is to convince you that you are a burden, to convince you that if you do want to bring up your opinion, or you do want to voice a feeling you have, that you're a burden, that you're just bothering people. Nobody has time to listen to what you have to say, and they're going to judge you that way. They're going to think, wow, who do you think you are, wasting our time talking to us? We don't care what you think, because that's how the narcissist makes you feel. The narcissist has convinced you that nothing you say really matters, and that can make you believe that it's because of you. It's because nothing you say matters, because you are such a waste of space. So of course, everybody else is going to see that too. So of course, Tom from accounting is going to think you're an idiot when you start talking, because who cares what you have to say? And not only has the narcissist convinced you that you're a burden and that nobody has time to listen to what you have to say, but the narcissist has also convinced you that you are horribly flawed, that what you have to say is really stupid, or you are looking crazy all the time, you are ridiculous. And if you're convinced of that, you're going to be afraid that other people are going to notice it as well. So a couple things that you can think about that can hopefully help you if this is something you're struggling with is, first, to flip the scenario around and think about how you feel when other people are talking or doing things, or how you feel about what other people are wearing, or the way they're walking, or whatever it is that you have anxiety over, whatever you're afraid to show other people. Flip it around and think about how you feel when other people do or show those types of things. I mean, do you pass these horribly severe judgments onto other people? Do you sit and think about how stupid other people are? And even when you have a judgment for somebody, even when you think someone has said something stupid, does it really matter? Would you want somebody, if you saw somebody at the grocery store doing something that you thought was stupid, would you want them to lose sleep over the idea that you thought what they did was kind of dumb? Would you even be thinking about that person 2 minutes later? Would you even remember what you thought or what you saw later that night? Narcissists do hold grudges and do remember how stupid somebody was, or how ridiculous you looked 3 years ago somewhere, because they use these as weapons to make you feel inferior and to make themselves feel better than you. It isn't because they actually are that concerned with how stupid something was or how ridiculous you looked. They don't really care about that in the way you feel like they do. They're just using it to manipulate you and to make you feel like you're less than, and to make you feel like nobody's going to take you seriously, and that you don't deserve for anybody to listen to you or to respect you. Nobody really is judging you so harshly that it warrants you having this much anxiety, that it warrants you changing your behavior so that other people won't judge you or try to attack you. Another thing to remember is that you are just as important as anybody else. Your opinion is just as important and just as valid as Tom from accounting's opinion. So why does it matter that Tom might think you're stupid, but it doesn't matter that you might think what Tom said was stupid? Narcissists convince you over time that your opinions are not as important as theirs, that your judgment is flawed, and what everybody else thinks about you holds so much more weight than what you think of yourself. And what everybody else thinks about anything is much more valid than what you think. So if you say something in a meeting that you think is valid, that you think is important, that you think needs to be said, but you're so afraid that Tom from accounting is going to think you're stupid that you just don't even say it at all. Like, why would his opinion of what you say matter more than your own? If you think what you're saying is important, why does Tom's opinion of how stupid it is cancel out your opinion? Because your opinion is just as important and just as valid as anybody else's. That's great if Tom thinks it's stupid, but if you think it's valid, that matters just as much. And one more thing that can help that I've already touched on is just to remember that the world is not focused on you the way the narcissist thinks the world is focused on them. I know I kind of had an epiphany a long time ago. It was like probably 15 years ago. I was at a baby shower and I was having a lot of anxiety being in this room with a whole bunch of people that I didn't know. And when I started to realize, I started to tell myself, you know what, I'm just one more person in this room, and nobody in this room is really like looking at me, thinking about me, noticing me, or passing any judgments on me, or really even giving me a second thought. That epiphany kind of helped me calm down. And I don't feel like that anymore when I'm in social group settings. So whatever social anxiety I have had, I seem to have overcome most of it. But that was a real pivotal moment for me at that baby shower to really think about and realize, you know what? Nobody really cares what I'm doing, what I'm wearing, the way that I'm sitting. Like, nobody's paying attention. The world doesn't revolve around me. People aren't thinking about me and forming judgments about me. And if they are, they're just passing judgments that don't really matter. They're passing judgments that these people, if they are making judgments, are going to forget about in 2 seconds. So to wrap it all up, social anxiety has many, many causes. It's a very broad topic. It's not simple, and it certainly isn't all caused by narcissistic abuse. But when it is caused or exacerbated by narcissistic abuse, it's important for you as you're recovering to remember that it's created by an illusion that the narcissist has imposed on you. It's created by the delusions that the narcissist has about how the whole world's focused on them. The whole world is not focused on you. The whole world is not judging you. Your opinions are just as valid and just as important as anybody else's. I think narcissists instill in us insecurities and fears about ourselves. And as we go out into the world and try to function amongst normal people, we can be really paralyzed and scared to death that the opinions of others are going to surface, that other people are going to validate what the narcissist has been trying to tell us all along. So it's important to remember that the opinions of other people are not gospel truth, and they are certainly not gospel truth of things that you're afraid about yourself. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.